Hi, my name is John Drux, LiveCalif.com, doing a documentary commentary called Change. Today's May 30th, 2012, and nothing's changed. Today, I live in a city with a $16 million budget deficit. I live in a state with a $16 billion budget deficit, and a country with a national debt reaching $16 trillion. The only thing worse is I'm going broke. I'm living the American nightmare. Anytime you hear unemployment numbers, it doesn't count people like me, real estate brokers, loan people, independent contractors, self-employed business owners. Anytime you hear an unemployment number, my guess is you need to double it, at least. And we received nothing. Let's talk about the presidential race of 2012. We have our current president, who promised change, and we're not seeing change. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if he was bought off or what his story is, but he's not changing. He's not delivering on his promise. We have the GOP front-runner candidate who now just had a news conference with Donald Trump. Let's bring up the birther issue again. First of all, let's see your birth certificate. I've seen some things, there's a chance you could have been born in Mexico. So, if you're going to play that game, let's see yours. And just seems funny, I guess, that the first time we have a president other than a white president, the birther issue remains. I say put up or shut up. I also saw a video on the GOP frontrunner where he says, I'm a big believer in you go where the money is at. And the money is in Washington, D.C. So again, the GOP frontrunner, he knows where the money's at, Washington, D.C. He wants to go to Washington, D.C. and be your president. I also posted something on Facebook where he was protesting at Stanford University for the Vietnam War, basically protesting against the protesters. Maybe some of you were protesting the war, just like all of us should be protesting the wars at this point. He filed for deferments and finally got an exemption because he's a missionary. So again, the person that wants to be your president got out of the Vietnam War because he's a missionary. I'm sure it helped that his dad was a governor of the state of Michigan at the time, or at least former governor. Big auto executive. Those people, their kids don't go to wars. Just like the people that got us in these wars, the Cheneys and the Bushes, they filed for deferments and exemptions. Again, people that want to start wars, send your kids to wars, don't want to fight in the wars themselves. There's another candidate, third-party candidate. His name's Gary Johnson, the former governor of New Mexico, and every time I talk to some people about it, no one's ever heard of him. That needs to change. I believe we need a third party. A third party to bring the change that was promised. I want to work for a third party candidate, namely Gary Johnson. I've emailed him. And again, I guess the key word here is work. Again, I'm going broke. I wish I had the money to volunteer. So I'm reaching out to everyone that's seen my website, someone that wants change, someone that's willing to sponsor me to go work to try to bring the change that was promised in a third party candidate, Gary Johnson. He was a successful governor in the state of New Mexico. He wants to end these wars. He was against these wars from the start. He wants to do a lot of other things. And I think the biggest message we need to send right now is you can't buy an election. I'm sure he doesn't have the money to hire staff. It needs to be volunteers. Let's send a clear message that just because you have the most money doesn't guarantee you an election. There's some other things that Gary Johnson talks about. One is the taxation. He wants to eliminate the IRS, and I don't think that's possible right away at least. But you need to close down all the loopholes. The rich of this country need to be thankful they live in the United States of America. It's allowed them to make the kind of money they do, and they need to pay their fair share. I mentioned the city of Fresno, where I live. $16 million deficit. They want to have the police officers and the fire department, all the workers, take cuts. The state of California keeps raising tuitions. So let's fund our deficits by the average worker and students. We need to look at revenue sources, not at high-speed rail. Again, my state, California, has a $16 billion budget deficit, but yet there's still talk of building a high-speed rail. And if it's anything like their other largest project, public project, rebuilding the Bay Bridge, it'll probably be done with Chinese workers, Chinese companies, and Chinese products. That'll be our high-speed rail. What's wrong with America? Again, Gary Johnson has some ideas. One of them is instead of cutting everything, we need to look at revenue sources. And I just saw something on the Dylan Ratigan show today, so I'm not the only one talking about this. I know it's controversial. But we need to look at the legalization of marijuana. The largest cash crop in the state of California goes untaxed. Multiple robberies, deaths, multiple people in jail, multiple millions of dollars trying to battle it. 65% of the Mexican drug cartel money comes from marijuana. Teen usage of marijuana is at all-time high. So we have another generation going to grow up the same way we did. I was just down in San Diego, Gaslamp Corner, watching people being basically dragged down the street because they're so drunk on alcohol. I've never seen anyone like that on marijuana. I've seen a lot of things on Facebook. Talks about deaths due to alcohol, violence due to alcohol. None of that exists with marijuana. We need the revenue. We need to stop being hypocrites. I saw an article where President Obama talked about his days of smoking marijuana. Basically how they played games. I played them too. The person sitting in the middle in a car, which shouldn't be done, but all of a sudden is hitting on it twice. You catch the person passing it from one to the other, and they're double dipping basically. We played the same game. Roll up all the windows so all the smoke's in there. But yet, as president, he's on an all-out assault against marijuana, using the federal Trump card to overrule state law in California. But I somewhat agree with what closing down the medical marijuana program in California, because it's corrupt. Just like every other business in America right now, it's corrupt. People have figured out a way around the system. Make it legal. And actually, I live in a place that's so broke it's not funny. The egg capital of the world, Fresno County. It only makes sense that this would be the center of legalized marijuana, where marijuana would be brought to market and stamped just like cigarettes. Every stamp means lots of money for the state. Our neighbor to the south, I was just down in San Diego like I mentioned, I was basically 10 miles from a war zone. I won't step foot in Mexico right now. That's the wars we should be fighting. And it starts with legalizing marijuana. Because again, if you legalize marijuana, 65% of the Mexican drug cartel money, business, goes out the door. Hit them where it hurts. First with the money, and then hit them with our military. We need to make Mexico a better place to live. Forget the Afghanistans, the Pakistans. Speaking of Pakistan, they just jailed the doctor who helped America get Osama bin Laden. Put him in jail for 33 years for treason. What does that tell you? Pakistan is saying America is an enemy. You help the enemy. But yet, the United States gives Pakistan $7 billion a year. Think how much could be done in the United States of America for $7 billion a year that we give to Pakistan. I think there needs to be full disclosure on every penny we give to every other country in this world. But yet we can't help our own people. Jobs is the big story of the presidential election. I'm still a firm believer that the biggest job killer in America right now is healthcare. The cost and future cost of healthcare of the employers for their employees. Think how many jobs could be created if employers were not forced to carry insurance on their employees. Maybe some of the tax money from the legalization of marijuana could be used to bring a public option health care system to America. Bring some good. Because again, under the definition, state law in California right now, marijuana is a medicine. And there's plenty of studies to prove it's a medicine. The biggest thing is we need to stop the hypocrisy, starting with the president. You were a pot smoker, now you're clamping down using the federal Trump card. Using our valuable resources to crack down on marijuana. Instead of saying, you know what? We need revenue. And it's hypocritical to say that alcohol is legal and marijuana is illegal. I believe we're living in 1966, 67 all over again. In wars we can't win, in wars that the public are against, and once again, marijuana usage is on the rise. It's our kids. Now it's our kids smoking marijuana, and our kids being sent off to wars we can't win. You didn't do enough to destroy the hippie generation. Now you want to do it to a whole other generation. It needs to stop. And I believe Gary Johnson is the type of person that will stand up. I'm hoping to work for him. I'm willing to stand up and say, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be bought off. I'm not sure what happened to President Obama from the time he promised change to now. It sure seems he's been bought off. There was a story that I saw where shortly after the election, he basically disappeared with Hillary Clinton for hours. And it's thought that he met with all the people with the money, the power, was bought off basically. It needs to stop. We need to take care of America now. Again, I'm very interested in working for the Gary Johnson campaign, a third party, to say enough's enough. The people with the most money don't win all the elections. The people with all the money need to pay their fair share. The people with all the money don't have the power. The majority of the people have the power. I'm looking for a sponsor to help me. So, again, John Drux, livecalif.com. Please keep watching, and excuse me while I turn off my camera, because everything I've done here, I've done myself. Have a great day.